himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nuroff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
Say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn, so there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching. And Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good whatever time of the day it is for you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the TH Jordan GR86, brought to you by the Tanso Racing Group. It's season 10, it's round 5. We're in the beautiful, beautiful country of Spain. We're here at Motorland, Aragon, traditional Tilke track designed by the German architect Hermann Tilke. It's going to be interesting to see how the drivers handle this through. 4.89 kilometers here, 20 degrees Celsius. It's a gorgeous day. Not really any rain that I'm seeing. It's 45% chance though, so possibly some. We'll see what happens. Partly cloudy. Nice and gorgeous. It's going to be myself, Bradley Dalton, joined by Micheal David. You've got 2 Americans commentating on a European league that is racing in Spain. It seems appropriate, doesn't it? Good evening, Micheal. Good afternoon, Micheal. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Bradley. How are you doing tonight?
I'm not
this
too
afternoon.
bad.
I guess it really depends on where you are, but yeah, 2 Americans commenting on a British league racing in Spain. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, but I think we'll have a good time tonight. Love the GR86. Love this tight little track we got here, so it's going to be exciting racing all night long.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great run for us here. It's the GR86s, which, as everyone knows, I talked about it last week when I was commentating with my friend Ewan O'Leary. This is like a little baby GT4 car, aka a GT5, if you know about GT5s, if you're familiar with that. If you're not familiar with that, then, well, that is unfortunate because they are beautiful, beautiful cars. We'll see how things affect here. We're round 5 of the season, and as we go through round 5, of course, we've got just a few more races coming up. Of course, Laguna Seca coming up, Long Beach coming up, Willow Springs coming up, and then, of course, BIR on the 1st of September will be coming through. I do want to shout out some of the sponsors of this league here. TS Livery Designs, Revive, setting new standards in the mobile car care, and of course Clark St. James, the search and social media advertising network, along with TH Jordan, that brings you this wonderful series here on the JP Broadcasting Network. But as we are rounding out the end of practice here, one of the things we do have to talk about is I think this is going to be a time limit race. This isn't going to be a race that I think is going to go through in any issues of where we usually see lap numbers being completed, because we're running about 2-minute laps here, and we're set up for 20 minutes. And, well, just based on my educated math, which is not too educated, I think that we're going to be right there on the bubble, Micheal.
Yeah, I think you're right. Fastest lap time we've seen so far, the 154.7 here is by Scott McFall. So everybody else is kind of a little bit behind that. So 155s to 159s. So yeah, it's going to be close to the 2-minute mark per lap here. It's definitely going to be an extended race. We're probably going to end up at the time limit, but it shouldn't really affect the racing quality itself. That just means that we're going to be at a timed race, so shouldn't be that big of a deal. We're just going to have to go ahead and figure out what's going on. Also, I am new to this league, so it's interesting to see in between the 2 first and second race, you have a top 6 grid flip, so that's going to be interesting to see as well. So going to see some of those pro drivers up front there have to fight their way back through the Pro-Am and the Am drivers, possibly, depending on what we have going on today, as we see Adrian Hadfield, amateur driver, up there just a 10th off of the pace. So definitely going to be interesting to see what these drivers can do.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this happens. One of the big things I do want to make sure that I mention too is looking at the point standings. The point standings are pretty spicy through here, I have to be honest, as practice ends and we get ready for qualifying underway. Everybody will get 2 time laps to throw some time in. Scott Brown currently leading with 323 points after last week, and then we go through from there. It's Dan Foster up 3 places in the P2 in the championship, but 85 points behind. He's at 248 points. Maybe that is 85 points. If I'm wrong, someone can correct me. This is the Pro-Ams I'm looking at with Shane Bellinger in P3. In the Am standings, it's Adrian Hadfield, who has taken over from Terry Atkinson, 313 to 306, and Anthony Jones in P3 with JT Johnson. And then Scott Bell dropped 2 places after last week here. And then in the pros, it is Scott McFall, Ryan Dudley, and Daniel Warheim that are leading out those points respectively. But let's jump on board a lap here. Micheal, this is a track that, again, it's Herman Tilke FIA design, so you kind of know some of the things you're going to have, and if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you kind of see what's going to be coming your way, and everyone kind of expects it. But as we watch Tim Walters here go out on his outlap, this is a track that produces, I think, some pretty interesting runs.
Yeah, there's a couple different blind corners. There's a lot of elevation change between corners, so it's definitely going to be interesting. There's a couple corners where there's only one racing line, but there's some overtaking opportunities all over the track at the same time. Also, another thing is these drivers are going to be using the complete width of the track. They are going to be out over that curbing a little bit more than you see at a lot of other tracks. Obviously everybody wants to use as much of the track as possible, but in this situation, on this specific track particularly, you're going to see a lot of people kind of testing those track limits. We see coming through around here as we go ahead and pick it back up. I'm not sure where he went there. Oh, there he is in the background here as we see him sweeping around. That is the long 10, 11, and 12, I believe. Yep, here he's coming through 11 and into 12. This is going to be a short, tight left-hander, and he just keeps going straight, so I must be incorrect there.
No, I think you're right. He's coming around the long backstretch here that just runs for
I must have
for ages.
Ever, yeah. I must have gotten a little mixed up there, but I apologize for that. But yeah, no, this is definitely an interesting track. Lots of elevation change, so that's going to be pretty interesting and pretty challenging in these braking zones. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the big challenge for me would be just remembering when this straightaway ends and when it stops. And as we get going here, let's hop on board really quick. And, well, that's not the camera I wanted. That's also not the camera I wanted. I want this camera. There we go. Let's ride on board for a lap really quick with our friend here, Mr. Tim Walters, as he goes through. It's that hard left-hander into turn 1. And then a nice little sweeping right-hander through 2 here. And you keep going around, run it out wide, bring it back through here into 3. And Michael, it kind of surprises me. You have the hills around the side, but there's elevation change to this track, but it's not near as drastic as I expected when you look at all the hills around that they've cut through.
Yeah, it's very interesting the way they designed this track. There are a lot of hills, the track creates almost a valley, if you will. Not quite, but kind of the same idea, the same kind of feeling when you're in the car. It's like you're driving through a valley. So very interesting. I do love the design of this track. I think it's very challenging in certain points, but it's also got a nice flow to it. So I do enjoy driving this track quite a bit as we see a little bit of snap of oversteer. This is a tight left-hander coming out here, run it out a little bit wide, and just kind of follow this almost like a double apex, but it's completely flat. So it's definitely a fun track to drive, that's for sure. I don't think I've ever driven it in the GR86 though, so that must be something I'm gonna have to try out. Maybe this evening once we get done here, I might jump on.
Yeah, it's something that I've done once, and it was for about 2 laps, and I'm just going to tell you it didn't go well, and we'll leave it at that. That's why I leave the racing to the professionals. I'm decent at tracks most of the time, but I will tell you right now, the big thing that I forgot was where the final curve was, and admitting that out loud is a little embarrassing, but that is just how it goes sometimes, As we go through, you see this nice sweeping left here, final turn, and as we get things underway, we're still waiting on Tim Walters to come across. He's doing okay through. It's currently Warham in the top time there. Brown's going to come across and put a top time. Where did Walters fall? Well, Walters went into P7. Let's check in with our friend Scott Brown here, who is starting, and you'll notice that when I shift to a different car, it's going to cut the camera a little bit. All the cars are on track at the same time, but they don't see each other. It is blind solo qualifying. So you are just kind of racing against yourself here, and you need to just be comfortable with it. And that is something that some drivers have an easier time with than others.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Sometimes when you're on track with others, it kind of helps you get a little bit more understanding of what's going on around you. Maybe if you're still a little unfamiliar with the track, you can kind of follow somebody's race line, see their braking points, maybe gain an extra tenth yourself. So qualifying solo, it's pretty commonplace in open lobbies, obviously. So a lot of these drivers have that experience, but some do it better than others. I do want to shout out Phil across the pond. Evening, Bradley and Michael. Good evening, Phil. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm interested to see, one of the things that I've taken away from watching is that even with this solo qualifying, lap 1, turn 1 still stands to be lap 1, turn 1. So I'm curious to see, especially with it being a hard 90 degree here, Michael, I'm curious to see how lap 1, turn 1 treats it this week.
Yeah, with that hard left, you got the field coming through. I mean, turn one's always going to be interesting, depending on 90% of the leagues. You know, everybody's going to try to come into it, try to make as many positions up on the start as you possibly can, but you got to remember you got cold tires, cold brakes, and especially here when you have that hard left-hander. So hopefully everybody will get through safely and soundly, but we'll just have to hold on and find out ourselves. The good thing here is we do have 2 races, so if you make a mistake in the first race, you got an opportunity to learn from it and come back in the second race and try to correct yourself and get a better result. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, as we watch here at the moment, we are riding on board with John Johnston, who is running his way through, trying to put in a good, solid time. We've got a nice 22-car grid here that should keep the racing nice and interesting as we go along. We'll see what happens here as he's running down again this long backstretch that I don't think I can really explain just how long it is, and it could be even longer if we didn't cut the left-hander right here where we're at, but he cuts it through. He's doing fairly well here, and we'll see how he holds on here. John Johnston, who is green sector 1, green sector 2, down in sector 3, and comes across the line here in sector 4, puts himself into P17 at the moment.
Yeah, this is definitely a challenging track to say the least, but Jamie Christie out in chat saying, come on, McFall. Well, McFall is right up front there with a 154.9, so that is a very, very, very fast lap there. These drivers are going to have a hard time catching up with that. P2 Scott Brown is 7/10 off of that, so definitely going to be interesting to see if anybody can touch the 154s. I think that's the first so far in qualifying, and if I do remember correctly, Scott McFall was the only one to do so in practice. So this might be Scott McFall's qualifying pole position to lose at this point.
Yeah, very interesting, and I do want to point out that it is a Pro-Am 1, 2, 3 right now. It is a Pro and then Pro-Am 2 and 3. Whatever driver I'm looking at turns red there. That way you can find them on the leaderboard. So it's Pro and P1, Pro-Am 2, 3, Pro and P4, Pro and P5. But points are awarded based on your class, but you race on an overall grid. That creates some interesting moments where you can have, for example, the Am of Tim Walters, who is currently in P7, who is beating out Pro and Pro-Ams. You get some interesting moments, and if things weren't interesting enough, Scott McFall is going even faster on this next lap that he's running. He's running his second lap, almost done with it here, and he's going even faster. He's yellow sector 3. We'll see if he can bring it out through the final corner here.
Yeah, he's got the first 2 sectors purple, so he's definitely got a very quick first half of the lap. Yellow being that he was a little bit slower in that sector, but still absolutely flying through. But he did lose quite a bit of time there. No, he gained. Okay, I apologize. It looks like he lost a little bit of time in the second half of the lap, but the first half of the lap was fast enough to go just that little bit faster, so 154.890. So gain of about a tenth, half a tenth there. So we see Neil Kennedy. No, that's Wareham. Wareham doing some drifting. It looks like they're having a good time. Not gonna be the fastest way around the track, but hey, it sure looks cool.
Yeah, this is what Daniel Wareham did as we jump back with him, and it looks like this is just kind of a little bit of fun. And remembering that the GR86 is a street car, that is the one big thing that I have to remember with this. This is the equivalent to taking your car sitting in your driveway, which for me would be a Hyundai Veloster or an i30N, as they are known in many other parts, and taking it and running it on a racetrack, which is on my to-do list here. Probably in the winter, there's a track local to me that will let you do street days. But all that out of the way, we'll talk more about Brad's dreams of being a race car driver later as we get our grid underway here. And let's get things pulled up. And it is going to be Scott McFall, Scott Brown, Dan Forster, Daniel Wareham, Ryan Dudley, and Peter Duke. Top 6 from there: Tim Walters, Stephen Parker, Lee Rylands, Neil Kennedy, Adrian Hadfield, Michael Walters, Michael Elms, Shane Bellinger, wow, I can't talk today, Terry Atkinson, Alan McCain, Stuart Brierly, Anthony Jones, and then the rest of our field here. It is John Johnson, Scott Bell, Brett Tyke, and John Kenny rounding out our 22-car grid as they sit. It is going to be McFall, Brown, Forrester all the way through. We'll get them set up here for the first heat. 20 minutes or 20 laps, whichever comes first, and it'll be the 20 minutes. So buckle in, grab yourself some popcorn, something to eat, and be ready for some action.
I'm excited to see this start here. Obviously, Scott McFall has got plenty of pace up front there, but I'm just interested to see, since I'm new to this league, what kind of start we're going to have here, what the rundown of turn 1 is going to look like. So as we see everybody getting gridded up, I think we're only missing one car now. So we should be getting started here momentarily.
Yeah, and as everybody gets on the grid here, it is going to be... Well, it will be here at some point. We'll get ready for the show and the fun here as everyone kind of sets themselves up. Let's check in with our race leader here. It is going to be 5 red lights.
Green flag, green flag.
And we are underway here for the Tanso Racing Group GR86, brought to you by TH Jordan, and it is Scott McFall who gets away well. Scott Brown is away as well. Back here in the back, we're going to check in a little bit. You see a little bit of 3-wide jockeying going on early, but here we go. This is that left-hander, turn 1. Already a spin down from Scott Brown. Scott Brown has dropped back, and everybody else jockeys around. Scott Brown first to last in one corner. As we continue on, though, it is going to be Scott McFall who is going to continue to just run along and go through, and now everybody needs to just settle in here early. This is going to be where the real challenge comes in, I believe, as we hold on here. It is going to be Peter Duke getting past Tim Walters. They're side by side, and as they squeeze through, Ryland says, you know what, thank you very much. They come together, and they spin around, and man, lap 1 action going very quick. I see another car there. That is Scott Brown, who has spun as well, and you've got Peter Duke, Michael Walters that have all spun, but up front, it is going to be McFall, Forrester, Dudley, and Warham top 4 as it stands, with Lee Rydlands a little farther back in P5. Parker and Elms make a move here and back. This is the mid-pack. This is where the real action is really going to settle in, because these guys won't be separated but by millimeters. And who was that? Was that Alan McCain that went through? Who is that? No, that is Dan Forrester, who has fallen way back here.
That was a very interesting start coming through for the first lap. We saw quite a few spinners. Looks like for the most part everybody got through, but there was a couple incidents there, so hopefully these drivers will be able to get back on pace. McFall having a lot of wheel spin there on the opening. He got a good start, but he did have those tires spinning up on him. So kind of lucky that the Scott Brown incident happened, because he was going to be under quite a bit of pressure through the first lap. Now he's starting to be able to pull up a little bit of a gap. It looks like he's already at 1.5 seconds up ahead of Ryan Dudley. So great first lap there for McFall. As we start the second lap, Dudley is going to be under a ton of pressure by Daniel Wareham. Daniel is going to be trying to put a nose. No, he's going to stay back. He's going to sit back and just kind of hold on to the first turn. We'll come through this second turn, and the third turn is going to be a little bit more wide out there. He's right all over the bumper there. They both jumped that turtle curb, and he's just got so much pace, but he's going to have to hold off a little bit longer as we see the rest of the field coming through. That is Lee Rylands as we ride on board with Dudley and Wareham. Daniel Wareham just all over the back here of Ryan Dudley.
Yeah, Wareham is just kind of, I think, building pace here early. We know this is going to be a full race to the limit, so everybody just kind of holding on. These two are real close here, P2, P3, but as you look behind, look at the amount of action further back as we go. Everybody from P5 back separated by less than a second all the way down into what was P13. It was all the way down to P17, separated by less than a second as we continue to get things going here and get things moving. Everybody has kind of calmed down for the moment, so I do want to go back and look at a replay here of this race start. This is going to be the Scott Brown incident as we go, and this is really what started things off here as he dove into turn 1 up the inside, and he just broke traction on his own. There was nothing he could do there, and then Peter Duke had an incident there as well. This is going to be a little bit further in the lap. What happened to Peter Duke? And he got connected there, and they just both kind of ran through. That's the 277 of Peter Duke. And who was the other car? I did not see who that other car was. That was Michael Walters as well. And then Scott Bell here had a moment early on. Okay, I saw all 4 tires off for a second. Looked like that was just clipping through. Dan Forrester had a moment. and this was a little bit further up, and let's see what happened to Dan. Little too much curb there, and then comes through in the rear end downhill, just did not want that to work, spins it around, holds the brakes. Very good job. And then last but not least, John Kenny had a moment. This is further back in the field, and it looks like he had just a solo on his own spin. Hard on the brakes, rear end snaps around, and isn't able to hold on to it. Hits the bump. Hits there. The good news is damage is off, so that does make things a little bit easier for them. But as we get back live here, Michael, this is going to be Daniel Warham still right on the back of Ryan Dudley, not giving him any breathing room to start.
No, he's definitely playing some mind games with him, trying to kind of force him into mistake almost, it looks like. So as we ride on board here, Daniel is just all over the back of that GR86 in front of him. As we see here, just able to just almost drafting him around the entire track, but unable to really make a move yet. So we'll see what happens here. But this is just letting Scott McFall get away even further. He's now up to 1.6 seconds ahead of these two while they fight it out. So Ryan Dudley being a little bit of a cork in the bottle for Daniel Wareham at the moment. Daniel unable to make a move, but not letting him get out of his sights. And we see quite the gap there to Lee Rylands back in fourth place. So Lee kind of out on his own there, just kind of in a no man's land. We see this battle right here for Hadfield and McCain. Hadfield, an AM coming up on McCain. So this is going to be very interesting right here to see what we can do here. And McCain is a pro, I do believe. Yes, McCain is a pro. He is going to hold on to the position. We see almost go 3 wide into that corner there. They thought better of it. Somebody had to back out, but that was definitely a very close incident. We almost saw another love tap turn into an end of somebody's race.
Yeah, and this is this mid-pack again that doesn't calm down. They do not sleep. They do not relax here as we watch them come around. But as we watch that, I do want to jump back up front here because Dudley and Wareham are continuing to battle. And look at this. They are just right on top of each other here. Even though we have that big battle in the background, they are really trying to push each other here up front. And we look further back here, this is going to be, again, you get just this swarm of 86s through. And this is what I like about the GR86 is it's the big brother, in my opinion, in iRacing to the MX-5. Big slide there from the number 5 of Adrian Hadfield. He goes around, hold the brakes, buddy, and he's back through. But Adrian Hadfield got a little too much trying to get things through, and he's now going to drop back. How far back does he drop? It looks like it'll be P16 here.
We saw John Johnston getting off a little bit wide there. I wonder, before we cut back, McFall had actually dropped some time. He'd almost dropped about half a second back to Ryan Dudley. Ryan Dudley throwing down a 154.856, so that is currently our fastest lap. Daniel Warham also in the 154s, a 154.9. So I take back everything that I said about the two of them fighting because it's clearly not losing them any time at all with Scott McFall a couple tenths down from that with the 155 flat. So this has definitely been a very, very, very tight battle as we see Tim Walters trying to make a move here. That is on Dan Forrester. And if he is able to get alongside, but that is going to put him on the outside of this final corner here as they go down this very, 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 very long run down here into the final corner. Turn 16, and Dan is going to be on the outside. He got the move done just in time, though, so he is going to be able to hold on to that. Oh, but no, Walters losing control of the rear end. It's so easy to do in this car. You know, there's not a ton of power with the GR86, but it does like to slip out on you a little bit. I personally, I agree with you. It is like the big brother of the MX-5. You have to be very, sure of your inputs, and you can kind of put it wherever you want, but you do have to be mindful that you're not going to, be able to control it as much as, say, a GT3 car. So there is a slight learning curve, and especially with these guys, Daniel Warham just all over the back of Ryan Dudley all race long so far. Dudley getting a little loose there on corner exit, so we'll see if he's able to maintain that, but they both have caught back up here, only a half a second back from Scott McFall. Scott McFall throwing in a 155.271 there, so Scott is losing a little bit of time to himself at the moment.
Yeah, I do think them racing in the group, while the GR86s don't have a lot of draft, they have a little something that they can give you every once in a while. So it does look like that they have settled into that, and that's probably helped them catch up to McFall. But now that McFall has some friends, we'll see how he runs through. These three, though, have opened up an 8.5 second gap to P4, who has 3 seconds. Ryland's there in fourth, back to McCain. But I do want to point out, it is AMs currently that are leading the Pro-Ams. It is Parker who is leading Forster. And that is interesting. This might be a path for the lead. Here we go. This is going to be McFall and Dudley. Dudley around to the inside, McFall to the outside. Can he make it stick? They come around the final corner. They'll come back out on the main straight here side by side, and Warham just needs to make a decision. Which way does he want to go? Which line does he want to follow? And I think he's picked the inside line there with Dudley. No, he's going to go back to the outside with McFall and see what happens side by side into turn one, the hard left-hander. And it is the new leader, Ryan Dudley, after 5 laps, 6 laps of action. We have a new leader on our hands, and this is going to make this lead run real interesting. I do want to jump back, though, because Steven Parker is trying to make moves on McCain as they come through. This mid-pack starting to really zest up again as they calm down. Back up front, though, because another pass has happened between Dudley and McFall as they come through the middle sector here. They are side by side, and again, if you're Warren, what do you do? Who is your pick? Who do you follow, or do you just sit back and hope these guys don't take each other out?
Yeah, I think you just kind of have to wait. You obviously have the pace to stay with them, but it's going to be kind of hard because every time you try to follow somebody, so we see McFall sliding back into the lead there, but every time you seem to follow somebody, they seem to be on the outside of the wrong side of the track. So definitely very, very interesting racing, very tight racing there. Ryan Dudley is showing all sorts of calm coolness and collectedness as he's been under pressure this entire race from Daniel Warham. And then on top of that, he said, you know what, I don't really care. I'm going to take it to the leader, and I'm going to see what I can do. And he definitely has the pace and the skill level to be in the pros. So no surprise there as we see him going to the outside here, down that long straight. He's going to be on the outside of that last turn 16. But we see he's going to have a little bit of a push there. Warham is going to be pushing the rear end of him, trying to get him up a little bit past McFall. So we'll see what happens here with McFall on the inside, Warham on the outside. Is McFall going to be able? Yep, McFall's going to take that inside line. He's going to get to the inside of Dudley. We'll see who has the lead coming out of turn one, but right now, McFall is going to have that inside line into turn one.
Man, McFall has the lead by millimeters. Breaks early, though. Look at this. He's going to try a little bit of a switch around, and he slides back in behind McFall. He's trying to look for some sort of line to get the run, to get past him here. Dudley looking through, and Warham again just kind of playing third gun here, trying to find a way through. They run through a little bit of a bump on the curb, both of them still going nice and gentle, though, not too many issues. But the question is begged, though, Michael. If you're Warham, what do you do? If you're Dudley, what can you do at this point? He's just stuck.
If you're Dudley, you just keep doing what you're doing. You found yourself in the lead a couple times here. If you're Warham, I agree, like, you're kind of stuck there. Oh, there's a little bit of a loose rear end there as we see, I believe that was McCain that got loose, trying to fight Dan Forster for 5th place overall, but a little bit of a loose rear end there for the two teammates, and able to collect it and not lose too much time. But we see Terry Atkins at the tail end of this pack here is right behind Parker and McCain and Forster, but able to hold on to that slide as well. These guys are just able to really just hold on to this GR86 as we see Warham has fallen back a little bit from this battle for first place as we see Dudley going down the outside again. I wonder if he's going to learn his lesson next lap around. Every time he sticks to the outside, it puts him on the wrong foot coming down into the last turn.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's ride on board best seat of the house right now, Daniel Warham. He is the one that is really getting to watch this and see if he can reap any benefits here, as we have Dudley, who is early on the brakes there, goes through. He's behind McFall. He's going to follow through. Look at Warham here, who is just settling in. We go down the main straight now, and this is going to be interesting. Look at those two. They're going to run low, and Dudley trying to stay right to the back, even though the GR86 you wouldn't think has a lot of slipstream to it. It has just enough if you can try to take advantage of it. And here we go. This is going to be Dudley trying to set up some sort of a switchback on McFall. He can't find it, and that car that they just passed right there, that was our P22 driver at Kenny. He said, you know what? I want no part in this leader battle. Just get away from me, please. Which I don't blame him, frankly. We continue around here. going around. Dudley again is trying to set up some sort of a line. McFall driving every defensive way that he knows how to try to make this work. As we continue around, things are looking very, very spicy up here in the front. We still have battles in the back. We're trying to find as much action as possible, make sure we get everybody a little bit of screen time here today, because there's good battles happening everywhere you look up and down that timing table. And there's been crashes galore. We'll see if we can get replays here in a moment of what happens once these two kind of get themselves settled out and we get a moment. We'll show you a little bit of a replay, because there have been a couple of incidents the past couple of laps here.
It's so hard to pull away from this lead group, though. They've just been battling it out tooth and nail from the very start of the race. This is just so tight racing here. And, you know, you're going to get some tight racing here with a car like the GR86. Like you said, not a ton of draft potential, but it's just such an equal, balanced car. Yeah, these guys have open setups, but there's only so much you're going to be able to do with this car. As we see Dudley once again going the outside, he is able to pull out into the lead, but he's probably going to lose that lead coming into the final turn once again. But he's got a ton of push here with Daniel Wareham. Daniel trying everything he can to get that outside line to work, but just kind of sitting back here and just hanging out as we see these two go side by side once again. Ryan Dudley and Scott McFall side by side coming across the line. McFall taking that inside line into turn one once again. That just keeps helping him stay ahead.
Yeah, he's taking the inside line, he's driving defensive, and at some point Dudley's going to have to find a way to make that pass through the final turn, through the backstretch stick. He's getting the run through the backstretch, and he loses it in the final turn time and time again, and we're running out of time here. Just 4 minutes left to go here on the timer for the session. What can they do to find their way around? I don't know, but he's setting things up. He's trying everything. He's running the racing line, but McFall, I don't know how wide the backside of a GR86 is. Maybe someone in YouTube chat can give me an answer and look that up. I don't know how wide a GR86 is, but triple that, and that's how wide that Dudley feels like McFall's car is. He might be calling for like an inspection after this, because it is just huge. And even then, while these three are battling, they've pulled out 11.4 seconds to Rylands in fourth place. I mean, these three are just on a league of their own as they go through. But as they take a moment here, I do want to jump back and look at a couple of things that have happened the last couple of laps. This is going to be Stuart Brierley who had a moment coming around, and let's see what happened with Stuart here. And this is going to be through that middle part of the lap, and it looks like just a little hard on the brakes trying to avoid a car to the outside. Car snapped around, but he was able to hold on to it. Let's see, Tim Walters had a moment as well, and that was Stuart Brierley in the background. Let's jump back really quick. This was Stuart Brierley yet again. What happened with him? And it looks like that is just out of the final corner going through, and he gets hooked on the front bumper. And oh man, very thankful damage is off, because that would have been your weekend over. That's not even a race over. That's a weekend over moment. As we jump back live here, and again, they're through the final corner. Can we make the stick? That is the $1 million question.
Yeah, Ryan Dudley needs to figure out a way. Well, actually, he's getting a ton of push here by Daniel Wareham, but he's still going to have to see the inside line to McFall. He goes wide on the outside, and there's a little bit of contact there, but nothing, no harm, no foul, and McFall has to cede that place, so Dudley not giving an inch there on the exit of turn one into turn two there, but I just don't understand how Ryan Dudley just stays on the outside of that long straight coming into the final turn, because that's just he just constantly has to give up the inside defensive line to Scott McFall, and Scott's just able to hold on. But this time around, Ryan Dudley making me eat my words. He's back up in first place as we see Wareham just all over the back of these two, just being patient, waiting his time, and you know this might work out in his favor. He hasn't really tried to be too aggressive. He's just kind of sitting back and just following along as much as possible. So maybe slow and steady wins the race. Not that he's driving slow in any way, but just the patience that he's showing has definitely been very solid, as we see McFall is able to get another move done on Ryan Dudley. But that's going to put him on the inside, and Ryan Dudley is going to be on the outside once again. But we'll see if he's able to do the switcheroo. He's a little bit further back. No, he's going to pull alongside, and he's going to try to make that outside line work once again. and I just don't see why he continues to do so. It's a bit like, trying to force a square peg into a round hole at this point. I'm just not sure why he continues to try the outside line down the straight.
He's getting pushed there and doesn't have much of an option, but this will be white flag this time by as they go through. Session timer will hit. There is Barney with the white flag, so they've got one more chance to sort this out. And the big thing that McFall needs to do is not brake so early. He keeps braking very early into turn one. Watch, there's the bow on his car, and then the 371 there, McFall, his car bows forward much, much later on that inside line. He's braking very early into turn one. He needs to find it through. This is his final chance, his final lap that he can try to make a pass, and we'll see how this goes and ride this one out as they go around. They're going to be side by side through here into the second sector. He's finally getting his car to the inside, but he's not close enough to hold the inside. McFall, very defensive. Big snap there from Dudley. Dudley might have to give that up from Wareham. As they come around, there's a blink of the headlights. I don't know if that's a thank you or a I dislike what you just did, but he didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. As we go through here, we're getting ready to hit that long back stretch again, Michael, and this is gonna be the moment where really it's a final give. This is all they've got at this point.
Yeah, he's going to have to use this draft. He's going to have to get as close to that bumper as possible, but it looks like he's just way too far because of that snap of oversteer, that correction. He's lucky that, Daniel Wareham did back out a little bit because that was the front end of Daniel's car all over the rear end. That could have put him into the wall easily. So great job there by Daniel to stay, level-headed and be on top of his inputs. But, yeah, I think McFall has just got too much of a lead here. You see them gaining, but I just don't think there's going to be... Oh, he's going to try the inside! And there is nothing there on the inside because Scott McFall saw that coming a mile away. But that being said, these two are going to push each other around. And somehow, some way, Ryan Dudley has found himself into first place as they come around the last corner. He's not going to have to worry about that inside line going into line one. They're going to be side by side coming down to the final checkered flag. We're going to have a contact there. We're going to be 3 wide. I don't know who won. Did McFall win? We're showing McFall as the winner by 0.02 of a second.
McFall wins by 0.02 of a second in the pro run. 20 minutes of hard racing for 0.02 of a second to separate it. Forster wins in the Pro-Am class, and Parker is your winner in AMs. But I got to go back and see that again. Hold on now.
That push that Wareham gave him was everything. That was everything. He had no shot. They were gaining, but McFall just had that lead, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just gets that push. But wow, look, 0.02 of a second separating them across the line. If the start-finish line was any further down the straight, that would have put Wareham in the play there. That's crazy.
This is how close that was. This is how close that was. That is insane. In ways I cannot explain.
That was an absolute barnstorming end to the first race. I can't believe that just happened there. That was phenomenal racing up front by our top 3 drivers.
Well, and here's the thing to remember too. We're about to invert the top 6, so you know who's going to be beside each other. Scott McFall, Ryan Dudley, Daniel Wareham, and Lee Rylands are going to be all around each other. So if they survive this race start, we're in for absolute madness here in this second race as we get ready to get things going here. And this is going to be, I really think, where things get exciting as we go through what is called a warm-up session, but realistically, this is going to be a cool-down session. This is going to be where everybody's going to be taking a second and breathing and relaxing and just getting things together here, because this is going to be where things get wild. I'm excited to see how this one goes.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go. Can you bring those back up real quick? And we'll, yeah, there we go. Scott McFall taking the win here. Ryan Dudley in second place. Daniel Wareham rounding out your podium places. Lee Reynolds coming in fourth place. Your Pro-Am winner, Dan Forster, in fifth place. Alan McCain in sixth place. Stephen Parker taking the win for the AMs in seventh place. Neil Kennedy coming through in 8th. Terry Atkinson, Scott Brown rounding out your top 10. Michael Elms, Peter Duke, Tim Walters, then Shane Bellinger in 14th, with Michael Walters in 15th, Adrian Hadfield, Anthony Jones, Stuart Brierley in 18th place, as we see the rest of our field here momentarily. That is going to be John Johnston in 19th, Scott Bell in 20th, Brett Taki in 21st, and John Kenny rounding out the field. We did see John Kenny jumping out of the way of the leaders there. I know a certain James Parfit that would be very, very excited for that move. So we'll go ahead and invert our top 6 here and get on with it. I'm so excited to see these top 3 have to go back through the top 6 here. This is going to be intense.
If the top 3 can survive the start of the race, that is going to be really where I think things get interesting. I think that is going to be the big question mark on the race is, can the top 3 from Heat 1 survive that race start being back in 6th, 5th, and 4th place respectively? It's going to be interesting to see what happens, and nobody taking the warm-up session to get on track, which I don't blame them at all, because I would not be getting on track at all myself. I would be just nice and calm. I'd be grabbing something to drink, and I would be just really breathing, because that is, wow. I don't know what else to say. Just wow.
It's 5 minutes long enough to take a cold shower to knock all the sweat off. Man, that was intense. So I'm so glad that I'm here today to see this. Like, everybody out there on YouTube, man, just hold on to your hats, because this is just going to be an amazing race too. If race 1 was any indication, if the ending of that race was any indication, we saw battles all the way through the field too. Let's not get it twisted. Like, there are tight, intense battles all the way through the field. So this is going to be definitely a very interesting second race. And honestly, this 2-minute warm-up that we have left can't go by fast enough. I can't wait to get started.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And that's the big thing for me is, you've got those top 3, but there's battles everywhere in the field. And it's not just like, oh, well, the pros are battling, but the AM and pro-am are going through. You've got battles in every class and every class mixing. Even though we do award points by class here, it is still everyone battling. It's, just absolutely mega. It's beautiful. I love seeing it, because you look at this leaderboard, right, for the AMs, and you see things are separated through, and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, there's space in the AMs. And you look at the pro-ams, and you go, oh, yeah, there's, space through them. But then we bring that into an overall run, and you see just how close everybody was to each other mixed in that class. And it puts a whole nother tier on the race. And I love it. I love it that even though it's separated classes by I rating, the racing is still that close. And just as a reminder for the tiers, pros have over 3,000 I rating. Pro-am is between 1,500 to 3,000. And the AMs is anywhere up to 1,500. So I believe I would qualify as an AM. And I would probably race slower than most of these AMs, because they are absolutely kicking the game. They're doing amazing here, and 30 seconds left to warm up. Can't go fast enough.
No, not at all, man. This is just absolutely insane. And like you said, these AMs are very, very quick. Up to 1,500. I know I would qualify for that, and I would not qualify anywhere close to the speed that these guys are racing. We saw battles all the way up and down the field, not just the AMs versus AMs, but the AMs versus the pro-AMs. And we even had Dan Foster up there in the top 5. So, these pro-AMs are fast for a reason too. There's nothing to shake a tail at them. So this is going to be really tight racing throughout the field. But I just keep going back to the fact that we have Scott McFall, Ryan Dudley, Daniel Wareham right there, 6th, 5th, and 4th, with Lee Reynolds, Dan Forster, and Alan McCain to pass. So like you said, if they can survive, as we come to our feature race, 25 minutes on the clock. Everybody grids in. We'll see when we get these lights on as we wait for everybody to come up on the track. And this is I'm so excited as we go ahead and start our grid. Alan McCain in first place, Dan Forster in second place, Lee Rylands in third place there, Daniel Wareham in fourth, Ryan Dudley in fifth, Scott McFall in sixth, Stephen Parker in 7th, Neil Kennedy going to start in 8th, Terry Atkinson in 9th, Scott Brown in 10th, Michael Elms in 11th place, Peter Duke is going to start in 12th, then back in 13th 14th, we are going to have Tim Walters, Shane Bellinger, Michael Walters in 15th, Adrian Hadfield in 16th. 17th place is going to be Anthony Jones on the same line as Stuart Brierley. Then we have John Johnston and Scott Bell coming through in row 10. Row 11 is going to be Brett Tackey and John Kenny, and I was a little slow there. As we see, we are already under green flag conditions. We missed the start.
We haven't missed the start. The start's underway here, and let's see how Scott McFall, Daniel Warham get their way through. It seems like they're doing pretty okay. Jumping up front here, it is going to be Alan McCain, who's getting his way around and seems to be pretty comfortable there. Dan Forrester in P2. Further back, P3 and P4. Dudley, Rylands, Wareham. Where have we seen this before? And where is this going to go? Scott McFall in P6. Parker Elms running his way through, doing fairly well. We see where everyone kind of lands here as we get things going. McCain falling way back as he has had a moment there early on. We keep things moving and grooving though. Everybody single file, everybody kind of holding on up front. Forrester is a Pro-Am who is in the lead at the moment with Dudley, Rylands in third, Wareham in fourth, Scott McFall in fifth, and Stephen Parker representing the AMs all the way up in sixth place and trying to hold on. What can they use from 20 minutes to get through 25 minutes? Well, that's the million-dollar question, and I think we're going to find out here shortly.
Yeah, I think Ryan Dudley is the one that's making out the best in this situation. If he can get up there and get a hold of Dan Foster, then he's going to have quite the lead to put on the rest of the field, because McFall and Wareham are battling it out in fourth and fifth place right now, where Dudley just somehow managed to get up into second that quickly. So excellent start there for Ryan Dudley. This is exactly what he wanted, exactly what he hoped for. And now he doesn't have to worry about holding off McFall. He can just kind of do his own pace, run his own race. And, I mean, assuming that he's able to catch and make the pass here on Dan Forster, he's going to be up in the first place, and he's going to be able to kind of just run along with it if he's able to kind of gap the field. As we see him 3 wide going into the final turn here. Oh, they are going to have to back out. I'm not sure who it was in the middle there, but we got 2 wide and 2 wide, so this is going to be tight action coming down the front stretch here, the pit lane stretch over the start-finish line, and we see these guys are just battling it out, and that is Lee Rylands and Scott McFall. I'm sorry, that is Peter Duke that we're following along with. Peter Duke in 7th place, holding off. Oh! He was trying to hold. Oh, that just got worse and worse. Oh, big incident there for multiple cars. We'll have to get... Oh, there's another car off in the background there.
Man, that was a big moment. Duke, Atkinson, and Kenny out of this session and into the pits accordingly. Again, damage is off, but man, sometimes you have a big moment like that and you just kind of toss in the towel here. We'll go back and see a replay in a moment. Let's check in with our race leaders really quick. And it is still Forrester in the lead with Dudley in second, Wareham, McFall, Rylands. Your top 5 with Parker and P6 respectively. Let's go back and check out a quick replay of what just happened there with Peter Duke, Adrian Hadfield, and Anthony Jones. This is going to be our replay as it goes through, and I don't know why that is playing in slow-mo. Let's get that queued back up in the correct speed. Here we go. That was them coming together. A little bit of a bumper tap brings the 277 around, slides in, nothing he could do. He was on the brakes, not a lot he could hold on to. He gets sent back out into the field, and that brings more people around, and Anthony Jones there in the mix as well, and Anthony Jones having a separate incident of his own yet again there in that red number 60 as he comes through, and he's on the inside there, and no, the rear end just snapped out, sent him into the fence. That was all she wrote today. Back live action here as we have big battles up here in the front. Who is that? Is that McFall making a run up the inside? It is McFall making a run up the inside. He's trying to use that inside line, that strategy, 20 minutes practicing, and I'll be darned, it worked.
There he is. Scott McFall out front here with Daniel Wareham this time in second place. Ryan Dudley had his chance but was unable to defend against Scott McFall. The charging Scott McFall coming up the inside there. He just knows that line, and he's just got it working for him like nobody's business. We right along with Lee. Lee Rylands has Parker for visit. You know, he's got Parker right behind him, and Parker, the AM, is not letting him get away from him. Dan Forster falling back from first into fourth, but still, that is a great position there for the Pro-Am as we see this battle. Lee Rylands is holding on for dear life, trying to keep Stephen Parker Hamilton just behind him, but Yeah, this is going to be tough here. These two guys are just battling it out as we see 1, 2, and 3, McFall, Wareham, and Dudley. Where have we heard that before?
I don't know where we've heard that before. It sounds familiar, though, and it sounds like it's going to produce some good action across the next 20 minutes of this feature. As we continue through, McFall will hold on to the lead as it sits, Wareham in P2 and Dudley in P3. Now the question is, we watched for 20 minutes Wareham sit in third place and play second fiddle to Dudley, try to find some way through. Wareham, what does he bring to the table that Dudley didn't? Can he find his way past McFall? Or is McFall just about to say, well, you know what? I spent 20 minutes blocking Dudley. I can spend another 20 blocking Wareham and just be fine with it. Well, only one way to find out, and that means stay tuned and just enjoy this race, because it is going to be an absolutely impressive one. As Wareham there on the inside goes to the outside. Can he make this work? Well, right now he's in the lead, but where will he be as they go in that final turn? That is the big question as they come through. And it is going to be McFall again. Inside line, makes it stick. Can he hold on to it? Does the rear wheels have traction? They sure do. And as they come around, does Wareham have any extra speed? He sure doesn't. And what do we have again? It is McFall and Wareham there, P1, P2, and it is going to be McFall setting up that inside line into turn 1. And he is going to be later on the brakes, and he's going to come through, and now he's going to hold on. And it's almost like I'm having a weird moment of Groundhog Day, because that is just how that's going to run, and we're going to have to see what Wareham can find and what strategy he brings to the table to find something different. I want to check back a little bit further here into the battle with Stuart Brierley, who is currently leading a good little pack of cars there in the mix, and he is trying to battle out with that number 99 of Bellinger, or McCain, I'm sorry. And yes, this is not a class battle, this is a position battle that we're watching go through. That 313 on the number 99, Stuart Brierley, trying to find a way through, and Brierley not able to find his pass at the moment. We see behind him there, Johnston runs a little bit wide through the middle part of the lap and is going to continue to try to find a pass. Further up, Shane Bellinger in the number 214 there is going to be trying to fight off McCain that is just behind him, and McCain looking very feisty today. Plenty of pace in, and there will be midfield battles that continue all the way through. Brett Take is going to be trying to take a place here up the outside and around. He's not going to be able to make that one stick, I don't think, as he tries to go around Bell, and he will settle back in, but he's going to have a good long run around. And we check back in the front because Scott McFall, I don't know if I'd want to be Scott McFall right now. Look at the pressure around. You've got Wareham to the outside. Dudley's going to try to slot in as well, try to give a little bit of help through. And look at that. Forster's also going to be in the mix. And behind that, Rylands is in the mix. You got plenty of cars all in one place. Can somebody finally get around McFall and make it stick? It's to the outside. They need to chop the inside line off somehow, but nobody's close enough to make it work.
Yeah, McFall is just able to keep that inside line, that defensive line, and he's able to keep pace down the front straight here. So not a very long front straight, so he doesn't have to worry too much about, you know, any sort of run coming from the outside, but still absolutely spectacular defending. As we see, Wareham does have an inside run here, so this might be trouble. Yeah, Daniel Wareham is going to take first place away from McFall coming out of turn 3 into turn 4 there. That was a great run there by Daniel Wareham. We'll see if McFall is able to fight it back. He's got the inside line once again, and it looks like he's going to have an opportunity here. But this is going to be side-by-side action throughout a majority of this lap as we see McFall and Daniel Wareham just squaring away. Daniel is going to chop the nose off, like you said there, of Scott McFall. McFall has to back out. Now he's stuck behind the two teammates.
Man, we've magically ended up with a 6-car battle. Top 6 here. Wareham, McFall, Dudley, Rylands, Forster, Parker. All 6 cars, all different classes going through. And Scott McFall finds his way through. He's going to be up into the lead yet again. Wareham there in P2. P3, Ryan Dudley trying to hold on there with Rylands. A very, very feisty car in P4 trying to go through. And, of course, Forster and Parker a little bit further back, but they are trying to look for the mix as well. But Scott McFall, for about half a lap, didn't have the lead. And now as we go on the backstretch, look where he's at. He's back in the lead, and we'll see if he can hold on to that here and continue forward. And man, I don't know. It's hard to keep him back. You can pass him, but you got to hold on to it. As Brian Dudley gets around the outside of his teammate Wareham, Wareham's going to try to slipstream out, and now you've got Rylands who's also looking through. We're going to be 2 by 2 going into this final corner. Who can make what stick is the $1 million question. You need to go to the inside, Dudley, and yes, Dudley to the inside. He's going to block McFall, and can he hold on to it? It looks like he will. So for the first time, Dudley finds the way to hold the line and holds it. And now Scott McFall in P2 as we cross the line. Dudley will be your leader with Wareham in P3.
This is definitely going to be an interesting battle here as we see the two. I'm not sure if Dudley's going to try that outside line now, and he's going to have to take a bit of his own medicine as he gets pushed out. And now that's going to bring Wareham up to the inside line. It's going to be side by side here once again on this track. I do want to jump out to the YouTube chat as we see McFall just forcing his way into the inside once again, taking that lead. He's going to be on the outside of this corner right here, and then we're going to come to this really tight left-hander, and he's going to have to cede that position for the moment, but not for too long as we see Dudley getting wide there, and now it's brought Scott McFall right back into play. And as I said that, I do want to jump back to the YouTube chat when we get a chance, but this is going to be close here as we see McFall and Wareham almost touching. That is very, very, very close. Luckily, we didn't have any net code. These guys are just absolutely fighting tooth and nail, just inches away from each other as we see Dudley having to hold off McFall. McFall just keeps getting the inside line somehow. He just has that car is just magnetically glued to the inside defensive line. He's just got so much pace there. So we see these guys, and as we take a moment here, these guys going down that long straight, I want to jump over to Jamie Christie in the YouTube chat. I believe Jamie was talking about the first race, easy peasy, Scott holding off the teammate members. It's not been so easy this race as it was last race, and it wasn't really that easy last race either. Tellshells, that is Terry Atkinson. My computer just died, so Terry, his incident was due to a computer problem. So sorry, Terry, that has definitely got to be really frustrating for you as we see these two fighting it tooth and nail. Dudley and McFall. McFall has to take the outside line. He's being forced to the outside, having a little bit of his own medicine dished down his throat. But he's able to make that outside line work for him at the moment as we see the teammates trying to draft each other. Dudley and Wareham next to each other side by side. This is going to put McFall into a... Oh. I don't know how McFall's able to hold on to that inside line. He's just somehow makes it work.
Dudley's braking so early for turn one. He about got spun by his own teammate Wareham back behind, but McFall is able to just be so late on the brakes. I don't know what he has in that car that's making him so late on the brakes, but he is able to stomp the brakes so much later and hold on to it. And as we continue around, Dudley, McFall, Wareham, these top three, where have we seen this before and why is this so familiar? But this time the action much, much closer as we continue to follow them through lap after lap. The top six separated by just a couple of seconds between all of them as we run through. McFall finally found his way forward, but I think Dudley and Wareham finally have his number. They have a way to try to beat him and get through. Rylands and Forster and Parker are all just kind of watching and holding on and sort of enjoying the moment. Rylands getting involved every once in a while there when we go 2 by 2 down the backstretch, but nothing too crazy happening as we continue on here. And down the backstretch we go once again here. This is going to be McFall to Dudley to Wareham. Who comes out of it at the end of the backstretch ahead? That is going to be your $1 million question. And I think the answer is going to be, I don't know this time, because I haven't known every single time we go through. Ryan Dudley is going to bring it down the line. He's going to be side by side here with McFall. He's going to slightly get the edge. Wareham's going to go to the outside, but this time Dudley needs to go back to the inside. He needs to go through, but he wants to bring his teammate with, I think, as we see Wareham hard on the brakes early, and Dudley will slide that inside line. Does he have the grip to make this stick, though? And it does look like he does, so yet again we come around and look at Wareham back on the background, trying to go up the inside, not able to make that stick on McFall. So Scott McFall now in second place and holding on to it, as now Dudley needs to find a way through, but he's braking so early. Look, brake there versus McFall, who's braking much later, it feels. And maybe he's not actually braking much later. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like he's braking much later, lap after lap, in that turn 1 and setting himself up a little bit different as we continue on here and go through McFall up the inside, Dudley to the outside. And who comes out ahead of this? Well, now it's back Dudley to the inside, McFall to the outside. And this, if Dudley can hold on to it, Dudley's still in the lead. Switchback comes through, McFall trying to find the pass, and Dudley not with enough grip to hold on to it, but he might get a little lucky here, bumper to bumper, as they go through up the inside. Dudley still trying to hold on. Can he make this stick down the downhill section of this track? And McFall again in the lead. I would hate to know the number of lead changes that have happened on this race as we go through, and it is going to be McFall around to the inside. He slings it downhill and makes it stick, and there we go. It is McFall ahead of Dudley again into the backstretch here.
This is just absolutely intense. We have 10 more minutes left of this. This is great. I do want to give a shout out though. McCain, Alan McCain was our pole sitter for this race. He had a really rough first lap, fell all the way to the back of the field, and he has fought his way back up to 10th place. It looks like he's kind of situated himself nicely there, trying to gain on Walters, but not really quite making too much of a dent there. But still, great rehab, great way to recover there for Alan McCain. Also, Terry Atkinson had his computer crash on him. We talked about that briefly as we see these guys coming down here, and both the teammates, Dudley and Wareham, on the inside. So this is going to be very, very, very tough for McFall to fight off, but he's going to slot somehow in between the two. Dudley and Wareham not able to push him out. McFall just holding on for dear life, trying to do everything he can. Do you want to jump back real quick before we come to turn 1? Terry Atkins is back in the race, 6 laps down, but back. He got his computer back on track, and we are going to see these two go side by side once again into turn 1, into turn 2, and we see McFall taking that inside line once again. McFall to the inside, and he's able to hold on.
If you are Ryan Dudley right now, you are going to be yelling every time he has the pass done and he's sitting there. All of a sudden, he gets passed again by McFall and he drops back again. This is going to be some of the most fun and some of the most frustration you're probably going to have in your racing right now. And this track is absolutely producing that sort of racing through, and you've got all of your leaders in one shot right here. You've got Scott McFall, the leader of the pros. You've got Dan Forster, the leader of the pro-ams, and you have Stephen Parker, the leader of the ams, right there in the back just tagging along. So this is huge for all of these guys to just stick it together and keep it moving and keep it nice and grooving, the Emperor's new groove, and they continue to move around here. And McFall at the moment is calling himself the Emperor, because every time someone thinks they're past him, he just goes ahead and he takes that spot back. Ryan Dudley this time, what does Dudley have? Let's jump on board with Ryan Dudley and see what he has that he can try to bring forward. That's not the right camera, although I do like looking at him. Here we go, down the way we go. Dudley with the slipstream McFall through. What is Wareham seeing right now? Well, he's got to pick a line. He's got to pick a side. What's he going to do? Well, of course he goes to the outside with his teammate. He's going to try to push through, and now Lee Rylands is going to be watching all of this as they go through. Who comes out ahead? That's the million-dollar question at the moment. Can both teammates go? Well, no. Wareham slings it very wide, holds on to it, and now up ahead it is Dudley who's gotten the lead here with Scott McFall, and now Wareham just needs to find some way to hold on to it as we continue through. And can he hold on is the million-dollar question. I don't know the answer. We're going to find out in turn 1, though, as we go. And hard on the brakes is going to go the outside line, Dudley and Wareham, and McFall there going through. Who comes out ahead? I still don't know. Ryan Dudley to the inside. He's still trying to hold on to it. Scott McFall saying, you know what, I can make the outside work. I can hook around the outside. And Scott McFall here is going to settle in. Now he's going to look for some sort of a switchback if he can make it work. Dudley's got to defend that inside line, and Scott McFall says, you know what, go ahead and do that. I'll find my way around you as we go. And he is trying to find his way into a pass, and he might have set it up here, but it's going to be the outside line. It's going to be the hard way around. It's going to be the long way around if he can make it work. And it looks like everybody gets a little wide here, and Wareham is looking for a way through as well. There's no...
After everything we've been through, it ended in contact. That is absolutely gut-wrenching. Oh, Ryan Dudley has got to be so heartbroken right now. That was just absolutely insanely close. We get a replay here. Coming through too wide, coming into the right-hander, and Ryan Dudley just pushes out wide, and Scott McFall is just there. And unfortunate event there for Ryan Dudley, but I mean, I don't really think McFall did anything wrong here. Do you?
I think
he just had no place to go.
I think Ryan Dudley was trying to wash out wide, and he just didn't have the space. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Well, that
gut-wrenching.
Hard racing has to end one way or another, and that's how it goes. And here we go. Rylands, Wareham, McFall, Forster. P1, 2, 3, 4 as it stands, and we'll see how this one ends up as Rylands is in the lead. Wareham's in P2. Scott McFall is still up in the top 3 though, and still looking pretty feisty. We'll see what happens. Dudley's all the way down in P6, 4.3 seconds off of this lead pack. We'll see if he can gain anything back as he goes. He might start working with the Scott Brown there to find a way through. As it stands, Wareham is still in the lead as we go through, but man, you hate to see it end like that, but it's also after 20 minutes of racing that hard with 5 minutes to go, it kind of surprises me it didn't happen sooner. I mean, these guys were throwing everything at it, and hard racing, sometimes it happens. I don't think it's an error on McFall's part. I don't think it's really an error on Dudley's part. I think it's just one of those unfortunate things with racing that sometimes it happens.
Yeah, that looked like a racing incident to me. I don't see any fault between any of them as we see here. Dudley, you know, he's 4 seconds back. This isn't over completely for him, but I mean, that's a tall task to get back in this racing group. So unfortunate for Ryan Dudley. He's able to keep it going, but not quite where he wants to be, as we see Daniel Wareham and McFall once again getting back at each other. This time, though, Daniel Wareham doesn't have the luxury of having his teammate right next to him. So this is going to be tough for him, as we see here. Lee Reynolds up in the 3rd place. Ryan Dudley is overall falling back. But, yeah, this is just... I'm sorry, no, that is Lee Reynolds in 4th place there. That is Daniel Forster up into 2nd place. So we see Daniel, the Pro-Am, up into 3rd place here, and we see the battle, and this time Daniel Wareham does have that inside line, but he doesn't quite have the pace to make it work. McFall is going to take the lead once again down that back straight, and he's just been so much more comfortable, not only able to take the inside line, but make the inside line work for him so much better than the Daniel Wareham or Ryan Dudley were able to. They were both having to jump on the brakes, like you said, so much earlier, where McFall is just able to just make that inside line work for him like it's his average racing line. He just doesn't care whether he's on the inside or the outside. So, I mean, that's been the difference so far in the first race and so far in the second race. Now, we did have such a close race in the first one, 0.02 of a second between the two of them. So we'll see what happens here. The racing has been just as close. Unfortunate for Ryan Dudley, but he's not too far back, 3.7 seconds back from Parker here. So just off the tail end of the top 5. Maybe he's able to make something happen, but we only have 3 minutes left. So not likely. It's going to be a battle here between these 4 drivers. McFall, Wareham, Forster, Rylands, and even Parker, the AM, up in the top 5.
Yeah, Parker's just 1 second off. He's not too far from the mix here as we watch the leaders continue to run around. Dudley, 3 seconds back, is continuing to close. He was nearly a second faster on his last lap compared to the leaders here. He was running pretty competitive time, so it could be possible for Dudley to catch up to this pack, but with only 2 minutes to go, it'll be 1 lap when they cross the line, I believe. I don't think he's really going to have enough time to get up here and try to make a run for the win as we run through. And we watch here with Scott McFall still in the lead here. You see he's trying to break slipstream a little bit, running that Indy 500 style sort of serpentine effect. And here comes Wareham. Can he make a pass? That is going to be the question. And Daniel Wareham is going to just settle in here right behind our leader. Tuck in with him here. We have 1 more lap as they cross the line, I believe. And Forster will be there. Rylands will be there. We'll see if Barney's waving that white flag as we come up over the hill here onto the start-finish straight. And as we peek to the right-hand side of your screen, Barney does have the white flag out. It will be 13 laps in total here. 1 more lap of action to come our way, and we'll see if Wareham has anything left in the tank to give McFall here with Forster and Rylands just behind to try to pick up any sort of extra moments they can.
Yeah, Dan Forster, I want to point out, he has the fastest lap time not only in this race, but I believe overall a 154.495, so a 154.5. Absolutely stunning lap there. In the 154s consistently here, right on the tail. So if these two, McFall and Wareham, make any sort of mistake at all, our Pro-Am leader, Dan Forster, has a great opportunity to turn a podium into the win. He's got Lee Rylands all over the tail of him, though, so that podium is not guaranteed by any means at this point of the race. But we've already seen a little bit of contact. We've seen a very, very, very close fight so far up front here. So this could be a very, very, very interesting end to the race as we see these cars coming down for the last time, coming back onto that final long straight that we see. So it's going to be McFall with a 3/10 lead on Daniel Harram, but that 3/10 is coming down mighty rapidly. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, as they come down the backstretch for the final time here, the question will be, is there anything that Wareham has in the tank? Can he go for a final corner pass? Well, he's going to go around the outside here, which isn't the line I would have picked, but it's the line that he's done consistently. And does he have enough in the tank to get ahead? Well, he's now cutting to the outside. He's trying to compromise McFall's line into the inside. McFall gets a little swirly through. Do they have that through? We've seen the chink in the armor of McFall as they come around. They're going to be taking the checkered flag this time by. And as we go through, it is McFall through, but Wareham has the run. What is going to be the gap? And the gap is 0.057. McFall Wareham. Forrester is your winner in the Pro-Ams, and the Am driver of Stephen Parker Hamilton comes across the line to take the overall Am victory. But again, McFall and Wareham, the gap separated by 0.057 seconds. Somehow McFall has enough in the tank to hold that inside line and get that win done yet again.
Absolutely wonderful driving here by all of our drivers, but I want to give a shout out to Stephen Parker Hamilton, top 5 for the AM driver, overall AM win, but top 5 overall. What a phenomenal race by him. That was just absolutely incredible. But McFall, Wareham, and even though Dudley did fall back to 6th place, still only a second off at the back end of Parker in P5, so he was able to come back quite a bit. Unfortunate that he was part of that incident, but these things happen. You know, it was tight racing as we see the rest of the field coming through here. That is Terry Atkinson. Terry was able to reconnect 6 laps down, but able to join back in and go ahead and just finish the race, because why not? But Scott McFall, your winner in race 1 and in race 2.
Yeah, Scott McFall sweeping the run through, and he's got Lee Rylands behind him there for company, pacing around with him. Scott McFall taking his victory lap. Lee Rylands bringing it around to the pits here, and we go through. Let's take a look as these guys continue around at our final overall winners here of where everyone finished their day out, and it was, in the end, Scott McFall doing a double sweep here today, winning both the heat and the feature. Daniel Wareham in P2, Dan Forrester in P3, Lee Rylands in P4, Stephen Parker in 5th, Ryan Dudley in P6, Scott Brown in 7th, Neil Kennedy in P8, Tim Walters in P9, Alan McCain in P10, Michael Walters in P11, P12, Shane Bellinger, P13, Stuart Brierley, P14, Michael Elms, Scott Bell, Adrian Hadfield, Brett Take, and John Johnston. Rounding out 18, our last 4 drivers, Anthony Jones, Terry Atkinson, Peter Duke, and John Kenny, bringing everything out overall. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the TH Jordan Tanso Racing Group GR86 runs through. And I tell you what, absolute banger of a race, as it always is. I love seeing this racing be as competitive as it is, Michael. I don't know about you, but this is one of those that I might go back and watch after we're done, just because I enjoyed it that much and I want to watch it again.
Yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal. I do gotta say, the GR86 here at Motorland Aragon, what a track car combination. That is just like a hidden gem that I didn't even know was just so phenomenal. Then on top of that, the racing that we were, you know, privy to this evening, just, you know, chef's kiss. What a night, what a drive for multiple drivers. You know, we had battles up and down the field, but, you know, that battle for first place was just, we couldn't cut away from it. It was just that intense. So congratulations to Scott McFall, Daniel Wareham, Dan Forster, Lee Rylance, Stephen Parker Hamilton, even Ryan Dudley. Unfortunate with that incident once again, but man, he had some phenomenal pace tonight as well, and just one incident away from another podium for him. So gut wrenching for him, but what a race! I absolutely love being here tonight. I can't wait to come back.
Absolutely, and I do want to bring in Dan Forrester, Daniel Wareham, and Tim Walters here. Bring in 3 drivers, 2 of them from the podium, 1 of them with a good run overall, and all of them the winners of their classes. Guys, how did it feel?
Hello. Sweaty.
Yes,
sweaty.
exactly. It's very sweaty. Yeah.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one sweating here. I'm gonna speak on Michael's behalf and say he's sweating too. That looked like an absolute astonishing race from our side. Can you all kind of tell me about the highlight and the low light of your race for the day?
Low light.
Go for it. Better ask. Name someone who's supposed to answer, Brad.
Let's start with, let's start with our winner overall. Oh, never mind, he's not here, because why would he be here? Dan Forrester, let's start with this. How did the race feel for you? Tell me how this track car combo felt for you.
It's so hard to get away from anyone on that back straight that it's just, you're constantly thinking, who am I behind and who's behind me and what am I going to do the next straight? So I think the second race I managed to get on P2 and I knew Alan would be in front of me. And he obviously made a mistake, so I was in front. But then classic me, I did it last week as well, made a mistake and ended up, far down the field, but managed to catch up. But by the time I was up there, I was thinking, there's no other pro-ams nearby. I don't want to hold the pros up, but, a bit of teamwork and team tactics, maybe I can interfere a little bit and help out the SimTech guys, but I didn't want to get in the way of the race, so just kind of let it continue, but whilst keeping the pressure up in case I could help somewhere.
Did a good job, Dan. You did a good job. You really did. Kept Lee at bay, and I could concentrate on what I was trying to do with Scotty. But yeah, it was good playing. Good to see you up there as well, by the way, Dan.
Yeah, I didn't want to interfere too much because, like I say, nothing to win for me. But yeah, it was a really good race. It was really fun, to be honest. It's always good when you get that close racing and you can try and avoid many incidents. I know there was a bit of an incident with Scott and Ryan. Ryan wasn't sure; he thought there was some net code, but obviously it wasn't intentional. And obviously Scott managed to get back and take over as he does. But it was very close in the line. I think two thousandths for the first race, and then something very, very small on the second race. So yeah, very close.
Yeah, it was 2000ths in the first race, and I think 800ths in the second race. It was very close.
Wow.
It was 500ths, so half a tenth in the second race.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was just trying to push Dan that little bit extra to see if I could get him across the line, but I just couldn't get up to him because I was running a higher wing angle. So yeah, it was difficult.
5 all the way, man. All the way, 5.
Man.
Yeah, in practice, I didn't think 5 was controllable, but I finally got used to it.
Yeah, it's a lot different on here to the official league race with the track temperatures.
The track temperature, I mean, when I was doing it today, it was 33 degrees track temperature, and it was so much slower and so much more slippery.
Yeah, but that's how I like it. I like the back end of the car to be slippy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came in here tonight, for the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. There's just too much grip. I can't slide the car where I want it to be.
I never complain about too much grip.
Well, I'm originally from the Mustangs on iRacing. So.
Okay.
That makes a lot more sense too. Steven, I have a question for you, my friend.
Yep, shoot away.
How did it feel to be sitting back and watching the absolute chaos that was happening in front of you with those top 6?
To be perfectly honest, I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. I just knew I had to stay within 1.2 to 1.5 seconds. They were going to tow me around the whole time. I needed a double W today. I've took both of my drop weeks already, so I needed that.
Yeah, that makes things difficult for sure. Guys, I'm going to start out here with Dan Forrester. Anyone you want to thank or shout out
Just thanks to Tanso and you guys and the sponsors and everybody else for making it a fun race week after week.
Awesome. Daniel, anyone you want to thank or shout out?
You guys as well. It's always good to sit back and watch the race afterwards, and you do a good job of it all. Big thanks to my missus and my family for letting me have time and putting the practice in. And putting up with my grumpy lumps for not getting fast times, and everybody who knows me, really. Yeah, good playing, guys. Thanks.
Awesome choice. Thanking the missus. That's always important. Steven, anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Oh, you put me on the spot now after that one.
Yeah.
Thanks to Tanso. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Thanks to the MRC team that helps me prepare for every race. Thanks to the guy that gave me the setup. I'm not going to say any names because I don't.
Now that's what we need to know.
No, I'm not saying that. But yeah, it did help. And thanks to everybody that joins in with the racing, comes to have fun, and just puts on a show on a Sunday.
Awesome. And then, of course, Tim Walters, last but not least, anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Well, all of my newfound over the last few months friends in the Tanso group, most of whom are, I believe, from the UK, and they put up with me as a non-native speaker of English. And this race in particular was great because it was clean. It was very clean. It was very tight. Very, at least around me, very, very close racing. But nobody was doing anything foolish, and that's exactly what you want in your iRacing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to you guys, and thank you all. I'm going to drop you all down, wrap up this broadcast, and you all have a great rest of your evening, okay?
Catch you later, man.
Yeah, thanks, Brad.
Take care.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Michael, it's been one heck of a race, but all good things have to come to an end somewhere, and I think this might be the good time to round things off. Any final thoughts before we send this one off for the evening?
That was just an insane first race and followed up by a great second race. I had an absolute blast being here, so I just want to thank the Tanso group for letting me commentate tonight, and thank you for joining me.
It's always great to have you on, and I know that I'll see you again here on the Tanso Racing GR86. Big shout out to all of the sponsors that make this league possible. TS Livery Designs, Clark St. James, Revive, and of course TH Jordan that produces this on, and of course, big shout out to the JP Broadcasting Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, do all of the fun things that are absolutely free to keep this going forward. But on behalf of Michael, my name is Bradley. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us next week here in the Tanso Racing Group GR86, where we will be at Laguna Seca is the next track. So we've taken you start to finish here today at Motorland Aragon. Join us next week at Laguna Seca, where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.